I got an email from my old boss. You're going to be responsible for the death of people. I lost 15,000 followers overnight. I was then labeled the anti-vax, Trump supporter, white trash girl. It was less about being right or wrong or left or right. My angle the entire time has been, why can't we talk about it?
What is food combining? And if you could break it down, like some examples of it.
Essentially, different foods use different enzymes, use different ways to break down in our system. So food combining offers a solution where it says,
what is the weirdest, maybe controversial, out-of-the-box wellness thing that you've done that you're willing to admit on a podcast?
I get colonics all the time, and I love them. Like, I jones for them.
What?
Oh, and I also do...
Kenzie, welcome to The Art of Being Well. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's long overdue. I've wanted you on since the early days of the podcast, so I'm happy it's finally happening.
I know. We've been in each other's sphere since like 2020.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I want to thank you publicly. I mean, you had me on your podcast years ago, I think for one of my books. And I remember it being such a great conversation. And not, like I say this, like there's so many people that have a podcast. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody that has an internet connection can have a podcast. It doesn't mean that everybody should have a podcast, because not everybody is necessarily the best at interviewing and being interesting, but you are really good at interviewing people and being a podcast host. So I remember that, and thank you so much for your years of support.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I like to ask what I genuinely want to know. So I think it always brings out a different kind of conversation.
For sure. And you're from the Midwest, which is something about, like Pennsylvania, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, right? So it's like the gateway to the Midwest. We're more Midwest and like West Virginia than East Coast, which Philadelphia is more East Coast. So culturally, energetically, I think Pittsburgh's kind of more Midwest. There's something about people from the Midwest that are just some of God's nicest people. It's not a stereotype, because I talk to people for a living, telehealth patients all day long, and there is a higher percentage of kind people in the Midwest. What do you think is the reason for that?
I don't want to say the word tough, but not everything is handed to people in the Midwest. It's like a different economy, a different upbringing, so I feel like there's not as much comparison, there's not as much options, it's much more intimate. And I feel like the word hard work comes to me. Like, we just have to work hard. I think even when I moved to LA, I remember talking to my mom recently after, and she was like, what do you mean they have a nanny? What do you mean they have a housekeeper? Like, these things were we had a babysitter maybe once every 6 months so my parents could go on a date, So there's something about like getting your hands dirty, and people, it's just a more genuine kind of lifestyle, because people are actually living their life, where I look at a place like LA, and a lot of people aren't actually living in their life. They're living an idea of what they think their life should be. And I just think that makes for a different person.
Yeah, that's well said. Like you said, like there's so different people of different socioeconomic, types of people with different backgrounds, financially, socially, in every city, in every town. But there's a higher percentage, I think, of, like you're saying, this sort of like working class spirit. Even if they make more money, I see this a lot. Like, even if you're wealthier in the Midwest or in other small towns, you still don't have these things, like you're saying, nannies and a lot of this materialistic stuff. It is an interesting thing, because it's not really we're not talking about money per se. It's like even the image of it is, people want to keep up with the image less when you're talking about the Midwest or, where I'm from, the Rust Belt of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, people are just more living their life. Like, when I leave LA and I'm in a different place, I feel like, oh, wow, people are just living here.
Yeah.
They're just living.
Yeah. Wild concept. So the question, begs the question, what makes you want to keeps drawing you back to the City of Angels?
I know, it's crazy. The weather, the beauty. I think for me, I like to feel stimulated, and I like options. So I'm really into like having my fashion line, and I love the creativity side of it. So I love here that it's like, if I can dream something, I can make it happen. That really stimulates me. And then I moved here when I was 18. And so it kind of became, I feel like I raised myself here. So it's kind of become home. And I will say it's the land and the food. Like every time I leave, I really eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So after you have the fruits and vegetables here, it's really hard to settle for
Yeah.
less. So a lot of it's too like health reasons, the sun. Yeah,
The
my
farmers
body feels
markets
good here.
the farmers markets are amazing in LA.
I
There's a
mean, I
lot of
shop
good
locally.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing things. I don't want to dog on LA. It's just a different thing. My wife's from Los Angeles. My entire in-laws are all like decades, generations of Los Angelinos, but not the Hollywood variety. They are like from Compton and Inglewood and Long Beach and Cerritos or Norwalk. So it is different. I'm not going to make LA as one monolithic thing. It is very diverse, but it is different than the Midwest. Let's just say that.
For sure. For sure. I'm
Yeah.
moving to Orange County. I'm in the process of moving to Orange County right now, which does
Okay.
feel a lot better energetically.
I love Orange County. I was when I lived in LA, Los Angeles County. I was closer to Cerritos. So shout outs to Cerritos. So it's like on the border. It's like it's Los Angeles County, but it's closer to OC, which I liked it. It was like chill, really nice people. It was very different than Los Angeles proper.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Where are you moving to in Orange County?
To Newport.
Oh, beautiful. I was
Yeah.
married in Corona Del Mar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Newport. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just kind of chosen me. I've been spending a lot of time there. I have a lot of friends there. And I work downtown a lot, so I'm willing to do the drive. It's just I'm like, I would rather drive from there than somewhere else in LA. I'm over
Yeah.
LA, but
So
I
you're
still
gonna
like
you're
it.
gonna commute from Orange County from Newport to downtown LA
Yeah.
every day.
I'm always, no, it's like 3 days a week.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
always
that's
lived in like almost like Thousand Oaks, Ventura County line. That's like where
Oh,
I've
okay.
usually lived. So I'm used to the drive.
Yeah. People do it. I know these commuters. My wife's uncle commuted from Ontario, like Chino area, all the way to downtown LA every day for like 12. I know people do it, but it is a long hours in the car just sitting in traffic.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It's a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm in the woods in the middle of nowhere, so I could remember those days, but I'm definitely it's another lifetime for me. So when wellness for you, because I know you've been in the wellness sphere and kind of sharing your wellness journey for years now. How far back did wellness go for you? When did it start?
It really started, so I just turned 29. It started when I was 20. I was born and raised, like we had organic food, no phones at the table. I wasn't allowed to have Cheerios or like Fruit Loops, like nothing like that. I think my mom was like one of the first into almond milk, and I thought it was so weird. So I was kind of raised that way. And then I moved to LA and I did the opposite of what we're, raised. I was like, I'm going to eat Starbucks and I'm going to have cake pops and I'm going to have all these things. And I had really bad skin issues, hormonal issues, started to gain weight, like just inflammation, and became really aware of it. And then when I was in high school, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. Now looking back, I don't believe it was. I really struggled with depression. And my mom and dad and doctors, they were really like, they just wanted an answer. So it'd be like, oh, she has Lyme disease, she needs antibiotics. And when I moved to LA, started to really see my own mental pattern and like when I would get sick and when I would not get sick, depending on what was going on in my life. So I started to become really hyper aware of all this stuff. And I started to gain some weight, some inflammation, started to really work out. And then from there, it just kind of trickled down. I became kind of obsessed. Like, oh, it's so cool that we can change our state. I always had migraines, which people had told me that was a symptom of Lyme. But when I started working out, they started to go away, like getting my heart rate up. And so from there, it just trickled down. And then I read this book, Fit for Life by Harvey Diamond. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I
It's
haven't.
essentially on food combining. It was a book that was popular in the 80s.
Yes.
And he talks about like not combining certain foods with each other. And I did it. I tried it. And it started to change my body, my mind, my life. I got really excited about it. I moved to LA to be in like photography, fashion. That was always what I wanted. But once I got really passionate about this, I started to share it. And I ended up going viral for sharing this information. This was in 2018. So I went from like interning at a stylist, babysitting, waitressing, working like so hard to having 100,000 followers, which at the time, like engagement was so different. So like I was like a nobody and I was getting like 15,000 likes on a photo. So it was like within weeks. So there was this big jump, and then I was kind of the food, the wellness girl, all of that. And I definitely have rode that for many times, and I've had podcasts around it, and I've always talked about it. It's not, as far as like that aspect goes, I have taken my health and wellness, especially through COVID, so far. Like my body is a temple. I am like, I won't touch anything. I question everything I put into it. I care so much. It's become such an ingrained part of my lifestyle. It's also a part of my performance that it's just become who I am. So like wellness to me, it's like, it's absolutely no thought. It's a non-negotiable, especially just in this day and age, you know, with all the toxins and everything. And so I've continued to follow my dreams and fashion and all of that. And then I've definitely still kept my public persona as like someone who does really stand up. And when I have something to say about health and wellness, I say it, and I say it loudly. And it's the number one thing in my life. Like I prioritize my own health and well-being before anything else. Like you'll never catch me cheating or whatever people say. It's a non-negotiable for me. I've lived not feeling good in my body, and I've lived feeling great in my body. And I just see how, you know, it's connected to everything.
Do you ever have to catch yourself? You mentioned kind of you live and breathe this. You really are immersed in it. Do you ever have to catch yourself? I'm just thinking, I'm putting my clinical hat on and seeing telehealth patients, and where we can tend to, like you said, you don't feel good, and then you find ways to feel good, and then it can easily overcorrect for some people and become obsessive and a source of stress and anxiety and obsession. Like, do you ever have to check yourself with like orthorexic tendencies that some people do? And it's something that I like to normalize talking about on the podcast, of finding this art of being well and not this obsession of being well.
For sure. And I love that you asked that, because absolutely. I think I say this a lot. I think every single woman deals with body dysmorphia, you know, obsessing over food, no matter what weight you're at, no matter how you look at it. I think that's a very common thing that not a lot of people talk about. But I have yet to meet someone getting into a deep conversation with them and they to be like, no, I have absolutely zero thoughts about it. I don't think it's possible, in my opinion. So yes, of course, like I, you know, just as much I love how I feel, I also love how I look when I'm eating well and all of that. But I will say I do feel like I've channeled my own discipline and my own kind of obsession with it in a positive way. So like I had a missing cycle for a while, and I went on this whole journey of how to get it back. And so I went carnivore. I went, you know, and I still followed all these things I loved, but I wasn't afraid to like try different things and go all in that way. And each time I do something like that, whether it's a parasite cleanse or going carnivore and getting my period back, I just get this affirmation that the body is so powerful and we hold so much control. And so to me, it's like, yes, there's an obsessive element, but I it's not like a hill I'll die on. Like if I have to change something, I will. And I will go all in to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. Something that you said earlier, I'd love you to expound upon. You mentioned like wellness is even a part of your performance. And there is like this artistic, I mean, even we'll talk about the fashion a bit later, but like there is this performative, artistic, creative aspect to how you communicate to your followers on social media and the world. How do you see that sort of performance aspect of wellness for you?
Yeah, it's a vibrancy. It's a glow. It's a confidence from within. You know, I personally have come so far. Like 6 years ago, I could not take a photo of myself. I could not have someone else take a photo of myself. I would be just saying in my head, like, this looks bad. I don't look good. I had really bad skin until I was like 22. So I lived in LA and I was trying to make it, but I wouldn't look at people in the eye. So it's been a part of my performance in the sense of it's helped me become confident. And it's my skin, and it's also just a vibration. Like, I'm not perfect. I'll drink once in a while, and the next day I'm like, this is why I take care of myself, because I have more anxiety. I don't feel as good. I feel
Mm-hmm.
gross, and that changes how you show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that isn't. I'd love to get your thoughts on alcohol. So you still drink occasionally, socially, rarely, probably. You don't like how it makes you feel. What's your take on wellness and alcohol, like that sort of convergence of these maybe better for you wines or
Hmm.
that? And then second part of the question is, what's your thoughts on the sort of rise of the mocktails and the adaptogenic neurotropic sort of space?
Yeah. I go back and forth. I'm still figuring out my relationship with alcohol. I didn't drink at all until I was like 26. And then I got really into drinking wine and dry farm wines and biodynamic wine. And the thing about me is I have an obsessive personality. So it's very hard for me to be like, I'm an occasional person. I either drink or I don't drink. That's just kind of how I am. And that's something I'm still processing and working with, because I will go through periods where I'm like, I like to have a glass of wine at dinner, and I will kind of socially drink, and then I go through periods like I'm going through right now, where I'm just really trying to up level in my business and take my life to the next level. And I do see, even some days, like, even if I'm not hungover, I'm not the same the next day. And I do see how it affects the next day, and I see how it affects my anxiety and my so I'm really toying with that, of like how to be occasional, when to, like, for me, if I'm on a trip, I'm fine. If I'm on vacation, I'm fine. I'm really seeing, though, it's not really adding to my everyday
Mm-hmm.
life at home. Um, and so I'm definitely like working with that.
Yeah, I hear you. And this is obviously no judgment zone whatsoever, but like from my standpoint, like the healthiest amount of alcohol is none. There's no healthy amount of alcohol. But as a pragmatist, clinically, I know a lot of our telehealth patients, they don't want to forever be teetotaling Puritans like me. They want to okay, what's the better for you option? So for you, you mentioned dry farm wines. Like if you had, for all the listeners out there, if they're going to drink, if they're choosing to drink, if they have a healthy relationship with alcohol and do it sparingly, what's the best option out there that you've found?
I personally, like, I won't drink hard alcohol ever. I don't like hard alcohol. It's like a biodynamic organic grape red wine. Look, they drink it in the Bible. Like that. You know what I mean? I kind of go back. Like, that's always my philosophy with food, with drink, with anything. It's like, what did we do before we messed it all up?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my outlook on food. And so, like, mocktails are all these better free drinks. I don't know. That's why I said I'm an all or nothing. Like, I'm in a phase right now where I'm trying to just I'm not drinking any alcohol. It's not adding to my life, but I am that person. Like, I'm going to drink, and it's going to be wine, and it's going to be the best wine. I'm going to know where it comes from, or I'm not drinking.
Yeah. I think most people, it's one of those things that is it's oftentimes kept in a healthy lifestyle because there are better options, organic, biodynamic, regenerative things out there, right? Or people maybe just get the regular alcohol, but they're having it randomly. But I found that it is an impediment to they're stuck at a health goal plateau, that it's alcohol is, even in small amounts, keeps people back. It's either taxing their gut, and their gut's not able to repair their skin or their liver, detox pathways, or their inflammation levels, whatever it is. It is something that I think people should explore and experiment with, kind of going 90 days, a couple months without alcohol, and check in with their body. And to me, what I've found is that it's not like this punitive, miserable thing, because they love feeling great more than they want to go back to something that kind of dimmed their light. So it is curious that you're kind of having that same exploration
Yeah, and
of
that's
your
why
relationship.
Yeah, and that's why I think it is, for me personally, and I do see with other people, it is better to be like, you're either going to do it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when you're not, you get to start to experience how life would be without it versus having that temptation. And another thing I've noticed for health, like, even if you reach for healthier things, if you drink, no matter the amount, it changes your eating habits. So you're going to eat maybe something you wouldn't eat while you're drinking, and then the next day you need X, Y, and Z to try to feel better. And I think that's why a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people plateau when they drink as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've seen some people postulate, okay, could small amounts of alcohol for some people, and small, occasionally, be act as a sort of hormetic effect, like some sort of low dose stressor that ends up creating more resilience, right? I don't think that's a reason to drink, but it is an interesting concept where it's like, well, some people can drink and live long, healthy lives and have no problem. But I think as a whole, because of what we've done to our environment and the human microbiome, I think there's less resiliency. So maybe someone's great grandparent could drink and have no problem. There's people with more issues because there's all these other factors. They're making their body less resilient to metabolizing alcohol. That's kind of my thoughts on it. What's your take on it?
I agree with everything you said. I think that, we have to be so much more cautious now just because there's so much bombarding us, even if it's just mentally and energetically. So that's why, like I said, it's just, I do parasite cleanses. I do liver flushes. Like I'm always keeping my body at 100, but I feel like that's because I also have to like be a part of this life. There's so much going on. And if you're not strong in your body, like I look at my grandparents, and they never did a parasite cleanse once. And, they drank every night and they're like fine, but also their lifestyle when they were my age was so much more simple. They didn't have to carry as much, I think, as we have to carry.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, I hear you on the Bible Times bit, but like Bible Times didn't have like microplastics and forever
totally.
chemicals and it's like we have a less wiggle room than maybe our ancestors had because of this junk we've done to our planet. But something that you also said, going back to the Lyme disease diagnosis, I love to get your thoughts on that, because there's doctors, both conventional doctors and alternative doctors, throw around labels sometimes where it's like maybe there's evidence on diagnostics to show that, maybe it's not. But isn't it powerful, like the power of a label as heavy as Lyme disease? And how did you handle that on an emotional level? And then you started kind of deconditioning yourself, I guess, to that. Even is there a possibility that you didn't have Lyme disease? That's fascinating to me.
I think I didn't. So I was living in Wisconsin, and it was very common to get Lyme disease in the specific town we lived in. And so when I started going through this phase of my life where I had migraines, I always struggled with mental stuff as a kid and as a young adult, like just going dark. Like it was hard for me to see the light. And so when I was in high school and I would have these dark periods, I'd have migraines so bad that I vomited. And I think my parents, like any parent, would just be desperate for an answer. So, the first thing they do at a doctor's office in Wisconsin is like, oh, she has Lyme disease, that there's a tick. We must have missed it. Antibiotics, the whole thing. So living with that diagnosis, that became my crutch for when life got hard. So even when I moved to LA and work would get really intense, I would get these migraines and I would start to feel really sick. So I would say, I have Lyme disease. I need to quit this job. And I started to notice this pattern of that was my way of saying, I don't want to do this. There's so many other aspects to people, but I learned about human design about like 6 years ago. And I learned what I was. And I heard that I was a manifesting generator, and that if a manifesting generator does something that they don't like, or they're living somewhere they don't like, or they're working a job, they get depleted. So I took that and I started to see this like depletion that I actually do have is actually when I'm not lit up. It's actually when I'm not happy. And I went down like a mental health journey through COVID in the past 5 years. And I really saw how it was all linked together. Like if I'm in alignment, that's why I do the clothing. That's why, it's like, that makes me happy. That gives me energy. And I learned so much about that. And then, I've read so much. I've read like about German new medicine, and I've learned a lot about manifestation, and I've done a lot of cleanses with my own body. And I just think I've done Joe Dispenza's work, like our mental state is so powerful. So if I say I have Lyme disease, then I'm gonna have Lyme disease and I'm gonna feel like crap. And I've seen friends like manifest their own illnesses. And I'm not saying like, if someone has a diagnosis of something, that's not terrible. But I think And I don't believe in that, but I think like when you're someone who's really taken your health into your own hands and changed so many aspects, I've changed my financial status, I've changed my, you know, social status, I've changed where I've lived, I've changed my body, I've changed my health. So you start to like stack these things and realize, oh wow, we hold so much power. And then something I kind of started to struggle with like over the past 10 years is I would start to be afraid of like, who can help me? Like I was missing my period and I didn't know where to go to get the correct help. Because if I went to a normal doctor, they wanted me on birth control. And I knew that was not going to do that, you know, and everyone has their different ideas about what to do about a diet. You know, some said it was stress. Some said it's because I wasn't eating meat. Some said it was because of this. And I knew in my gut what it was. I knew when I lost it. I knew that I was in a fight or flight state and my body thought I was being attacked. And I had to learn how to come down from that, undo that mental loop in my head. Once I did that, I threw some meat in my diet and boom, I've been regular since. And so, you know, and I don't like crave meat. It's like kind of hard for me to eat it. And so I will like, I watch my cycle and I do it around them, but I'm so intuitive with my body is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, that's like
touching on. I think you're touching on something really beautiful and something that we talk a lot about in the podcast. Is this bidirectional relationship between like the fact that mental health is physical health, how our physical health will impact our mental health, and vice versa. And you've dealt with both sides of that, the gut and the feelings, right? You dealt with the healing your gut and the nutrition aspect of it, all the physiological components, and then you're touching on this, how does my head and my heart impact my body? And you mentioned bringing yourself down and addressing that hypervigilance on a nervous system cellular level. What did that process look like for you? How did you start to retrain your nervous system?
I let everything go. So I'm just getting back into the fashion industry, into like really showing up online. I had to completely let everything go. So I moved to LA at 18 and I just went on the rat race and I went on a just trying to survive, honestly. And I made a lot of money. I lost a lot of money. I think money was the thing that really started to throw my nervous system out of whack because it would come in these like ginormous waves. And I would go all out. And then I would be like, how do I get it back? And like my parents were going through a divorce and COVID was crazy and I felt displaced. And so it was almost like I had all these years of just all these random like survival mechanisms in my body. And in the past year, I had to like let all of it just go and I had to be. And I learned how to love myself when I wasn't making money, when I didn't like wasn't cool to the other influencers, when I didn't know what I was going to do. I think a lot of that is, you know, a lot of people going from like 28 to 30, like it's just a confusing time. It's like I started to see the impact of my choices that weren't smart. I started to see the impact of finances. I started to understand them. I didn't have that concept before. I just lived in the moment kind of. And I really learned about the compound effect. And I kept trying to like create on top of a foundation that was already cracked. And that's where I just like wasn't at peace and I was really struggling mentally. And so the past year, I had to go back and take the whole thing down and reset the foundation. And that was not my health. And that I think was the hardest part about the whole equation is that I knew how to diet or change my diet or go on supplements or cleanse my body. Like I had that down. That wasn't the crack in the foundation. And I had to go look at the crack in the foundation. That was the hard thing to look at. That was like the choices that weren't smart or the commitments I didn't follow through on, or, you know, how like my parents' divorce was really actually affecting me and how lonely I felt. So I went back and I spent about 9 months doing nothing and learning how to love myself in that space, learning how to love myself with just enough money to get by. And that was the greatest gift I've ever given myself because now I feel like I'm building this career on a foundation that exists. And I'm insecure still sometimes. Like I look at peers my age who we both started at the same time and they're like up here now, you know, and I kind of skipped that because I skipped steps. But I also see now like how exciting it is when I get one clothing sale. Whereas before, if I got like 30 in 10 minutes, it wasn't good enough. I wasn't satisfied. And so I've really had to like retrain what my foundation and what my baseline is.
Wow. Thank you for being so vulnerable with that, because that's applicable no matter what space you're in, right? It's a FOMO culture, right? And finding the JOMO, the joy of missing out, is difficult. It's easier said than done, right? It's to really like what really matters in life. And it's like you said, we're still imperfect beings. We could be insecure, but like what's our true north and what's our foundation is really important. And one of the tools that you talked about as at least being a component to understanding these deeper foundational human way that we operate and understanding ourselves better. You mentioned human design. For people that don't know what human design is, can you how would you describe it?
Yeah, so it's kind of like astrology in a way. You give it you can go to myhumandesign.com and you give it your birth time, your birthplace, and it calculates, your design. It's like astrology, essentially. And I think that human design gives you little tools. Like I love astrology. I'm very, very into astrology. But taking that little tool in human design, like we all have a design. So we're either a generator, a manifesting generator, a projector. Like just learning what you are is so helpful, because if you're a projector, you need more rest than a generator. A generator can just go, 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 go. And so it's just learning these little things. I think the more you can know about yourself, the more it helps you be unapologetically yourself. And something that I did that I'm like still processing, but I got really vocal for Maha during this past election. And this was also at the time that I was kind of coming out of my break, right? And I did it because I want children and the future that they live in is really important. Also, health is very important to me. But it's also a part of who I am, is like, I am loud and outspoken and bold. And I feel like part of the crack in my own foundation for so long was that I was so misunderstood. Like people didn't know who I really was. I got a lot of backlash in 2019 from the food combining stuff. People were saying I was causing eating disorders and stuff. And to me, I was coming from such an innocent place. I was talking about fruits and vegetables. Like I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I genuinely want the best for everybody. And so I was just seeing how I would kind of push and pull in between like being safe and then being myself. And kind of the final thing for this foundation was just being myself. And that's really helped me, knowing my human design, knowing my astrology, because if you look at that stuff, I am very loud and bold, and I'm supposed to be outspoken and controversial and bring things to the table. Not everyone will. And it's helped me accept that about myself, because there have been days when I'm like, I wish I was just like this influencer who could just show up and make money and everyone likes them, but you don't really know what they think, and I can't do that. Like I will explode. Even if I'm quiet for 9 months, if something happens, you can expect me to say something, because I just can't control myself.
I'm in functional medicine. I have very little knowledge about human design, but I had a session with somebody, as we do in wellness. We try different things. I had someone tell me I was the same thing. I was a manifesting generator. I didn't learn a lot about it, but I'm seeing a lot of synchronicity between what you're saying and me as well. Do you know what Enneagram you are?
I do.
It's like 1 to 9.
Yeah, I think I'm a 9. I think.
Okay, I think it's a peacemaker.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Enneagram's another interesting ancient thing, right? That's like it's popularized today, but has its roots in really ancient studies of humans.
Yeah, I am a 9. That's coming back to me, because I'm very justice. Like I am loud and outspoken, and I can be controversial, but it's all for the name of justice.
Yeah, like maybe a 9-wing 1 or something like
that.
Yeah. Okay. Something you mentioned, Maha, and speaking up about that. I mean, so you're in your late 20s, you're in your 20s, you're in this sort of wellness world, fashion world, influencer world in Los Angeles, speaking up about, Bobby Kennedy and health topics. it's not always very popular in certain circles. What was that like for you to go there?
Yeah. So in 2020, I did it.
Okay, so
And
prior to this, so we're talking about the height of COVID.
the
I
height of
actually,
COVID.
I remember you were. I told my team this morning. I was like, I remember in 2020 what Kenzie went through because I was watching it peripherally. Not on social media that much, but yeah, you really went there, and
I
that was
went
not
there.
easy at that time. I mean, this
No,
was like
in that
Orwellian,
time,
draconian. It was horrible for people on social media. People
that
were
time I was
treated horribly.
crazy. Like at that point, I think
Yeah.
people thought I absolutely lost my stuff. And so I did it in 2020 and then I retracted. I kind of was like, okay, maybe I never did do that.
Wait, let's go back. What did you say that you were like, people thought you were crazy?
I posted, Bobby was holding this, it was like a meeting or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was for the vaccine rollout. And he
Okay.
was posting a meeting with about 20 other doctors and physicians. And an hour before, they deleted his Instagram.
Got it.
And I was like all signed up to go to this Zoom meeting. I was all excited. And so they deleted his Instagram. So I said something on social media, like, do we not think it's weird that we had to deplatform someone? And that, people kind of made noise. And then there was just some video on vaccines. And I just took that upon myself to post that to my story. And I got an email from my old boss in LA that was like, you're going to be responsible for the death of people. And it was just so like, I didn't fully know at the time. I was like, okay, I lost 15,000 followers overnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that brings us back to how things were then. I mean, it's
totally,
still
and still
crazy,
to this
but
day, like
yeah.
I was then labeled the anti-vax Trump supporter white trash girl, because I just like simply questioned something.
Yeah. So can we settle? I mean, would you consider yourself conservative? How would you kind of label yourself, even if you can label yourself in that vein politically?
Yeah, I mean, I'm conservative now for sure.
Really?
If I had to label myself, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's sort of a weird realignment, right, going on. It's like, I think what we call conservative is it really even conservative? Like, I think it's classical liberalism in many ways. It's like
conservative is like the new liberal,
right? That's what I'm saying.
I don't know
what
happened to
we call it conservative, but there's
yeah.
nothing actually. I mean, there are social conservatives certainly, and I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking like everyone I know within wellness is pretty socially liberal, maybe fiscally libertarian or conservative. But I mean, we need like new names for what's going on politically. Independent.
People can label me whatever they want, and I just think in my head, I do it. I'm for the children. I'm for the children that are coming, that are here, that, I've like experienced such a drastic change in evolution. And as of you, we all have. And, if you don't have health, you don't have anything.
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of retracting. What made you do that? Like second guessing, being so outspoken?
I didn't second guess. I went even deeper into my health. I started to get into cleansing. I learned about parasites. I definitely didn't get vaccinated. I, kind of like went further in my own health journey. But it was still that like, well, I have a dream. I've always wanted to be, I've had this idea of myself that like, I'll be this mysterious fashion designer. No one who knows who I am, but I'm super successful. And so it was kind of that of like, well, I got to hold that, in the highest. But what I saw is that same Lyme disease thing, that same like if I'm not being myself, then I lose energy. I get depleted. It's the manifesting generator thing. Like I get energy from life experience. And so I did kind of retract, went really into fashion, but still it was like then during that time I got into cleansing and I did a parasite cleanse and that changed my life. And I felt the need to say something like, hey, you guys might have parasites. Cause like, it's just when you start to heal in those ways, you want people to know.
Yeah, you want to share what
you want to share it. Yeah. And then, like I said, this past year, I personally felt like I had nothing. Like I knew I had to take down everything and rebuild my foundation. So during the election this year, I felt like, I have nothing to lose. I've already been like so rogue and crazy at times. And this election was so heightened. Like it was so, and maybe it was who I was consuming, but I'm sure a lot of people that, you're friends with too, like it's, I consume a lot of the health world. So it was like, it was just heated. And I just felt like I needed to say something. And more so, it was less about being right or wrong or left or right. My angle the entire time has been, why can't we talk about it? Why can't there be two sides? Why do I have to get censored? Why can't I go to the event if I say this? Why don't you like me if I say this? Why do you have to unfollow me if I say this? That was more my questioning and angle is like, why? If someone has different views than me or chooses to vaccinate their baby or what, I'm not going to be friends with you. No, we're friends. Like that was my reason for doing it, is because I wanted to just question that aspect.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, this weird inversion, this realignment that's happening, because what you're talking about is free speech, tolerance, and making personal health decisions for yourself, which are always has been center of, like, left of center things, where it's completely inverted. So it is interesting, this phenomenon that our community, the wellness community, has had, because I think that COVID really did we were always in this space, but it really kind of there was a line in the sand in COVID. It was like, what side are you going to be on? Are you going to rage and question the machine, or are you going to rage for the machine? And I think most of us chose to be consistent with who we've always been, which is independent thinking people. The other side just doesn't like it as much. They really love the groupthink.
For sure. And I like data. So something about 2020 is I just remember hearing projections from all of our people, right? Hearing projections of like what could come. More cancer, more illness, more pesticides, more this. And I have personally witnessed so many people have cancer, tumors, dropping dead, all these things. And so for me, I'm like, well, I kind of saw it. We heard it was going to go in this direction. Now it is. Now everyone's trying to figure out why. And I think the answer is really obvious. So, and I've also seen, like myself and other people in our industry, how our health has excelled and people look younger and more vibrant. And so I like data.
Yeah. Yeah. Science without presupposition, which should be, it's actually just science, really, is what it is. But science has been this sort of virtue signaling that's been bastardized, right? It's like, well, trust the science, as if it's a religion that you have to have faith in and don't question. That's the antithesis of actual science. So I think even the name science has been abused and used.
Totally. Well, science is a scientific study. So, okay, I'll trust the science, but give me the 10-year study. I don't want the 3-week rollout. I just want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so let's even reclaim that word science, because I think it's been used in a way that just pushes corporate and government control agendas, but then it's touted as this sort of thing that you can't question, which is, again, not actual science. Something you also talked about that was controversial, which I've been there on my own side, when you talk about foods and people saying, this is going to create disordered eating when you talk about foods. I've been in that sort of heat around book, publications and things like that. It's not pretty on social media. Like you said, it's coming from such a caring place. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're talking about fruits and vegetables. It's really not anything negative. But food combining, I'd love to go there, because I haven't talked about it on the pod so much. Like, what is food combining? And like, if you could break it down, like some examples of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I still live and breathe it. And it takes zero thought for me now. It's just what I do. So essentially food combining, and people say it's not science, but there's plenty of studies on it. And if you try it, you can see, how amazing it is. But essentially, different foods use different enzymes, use different ways to break down in our system. So you eat a sandwich with bread, with protein, and then you have fruit on the side and you feel tired after. Okay, that's simply because your body is working overtime to try to break the food down and to digest it. So food combining offers a solution where it says, don't combine everything at once. If you want protein, combine it with a vegetable. Those are compatible to digest together. If you are going to go for carbs and starch, have the carb and the starch with a vegetable. And then one of the big things with food combining is fruit alone on an empty stomach, because fruit's a really cleansing food. It doesn't really use any much enzymes to digest in your system. It just kind of flows through. And so I started this whole thing of having fruit for breakfast, like fruit in the morning, because it gives you, for me, it gives a nice energy, keeps me clear. You know, like morning is such a productive time. And so I don't want to feel like I'm using my energy or my mental capacity to digest. And so it's just kind of like a roadmap. If you even think of it of a pyramid, is like fruit first, leafy greens with a starch, or leafy greens with a vegetable, and leafy greens with a protein. And it just suggests a way of combining your food. So instead of having a steak and then having a big bowl of fruit for dessert, it's like, hey, just have a square of chocolate for dessert. Don't put fruit on. Fruit wants to just pass through fast, and you don't want the fruit sitting on top of the steak, which is going to take 3 hours to digest. So it's just kind of a method and a trick. And I would always tell people, like, because I went to IIN, I wasn't just like out here saying things and not, educating myself, but I would always tell people, just try for a week having fruit for breakfast. Doesn't mean you can't have protein. Just try waking up, having a bowl of berries or having a smoothie, and then an hour later going for your protein, and just see how you feel, because it's such a cleansing food. And, I still have friends and family who have been doing it for 7 years from when I first, shared it. And it's something I always come back to. Like, even when I went kind of carnivore-y this past winter, I still had fruit for breakfast. I still was mindful of what I was combining my meat with. But it's something I always come back to. It makes me feel so, so good.
Interesting. I know it's not the same, but it's. I wonder if, like you mentioned, the book that came out with a doctor writing it. It seems to have similar tenets as Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, which does not the same, but like fish and milk, they don't like combining certain things for different reasons. Not necessarily enzyme reasons per se, but probably more energetic reasons. But have you ever seen the connection between those sort of Ayurvedic principles and food combining in the more modern sense?
Totally. I think they work really well together, because Ayurveda is amazing. There's so many different, like, for your body type, there's different ways to eat. And then you can even take that further, and it's like, I'm going to eat that way and combine differently. And you know what? I think, like, if food combining is scientific or not, I think that it goes back to kind of what we've been speaking about, which is simplicity. We overcomplicate things as human beings. We do put too much on our plate. There's too much combination. There's too much flavor. So it's like, that's all going in our body. And so I think what food combining does, no matter what diet, or if you're carnivore, if you're vegan, if you're whatever, it helps you simplify your meals, which I do think it makes you ultimately feel better. It's just simple.
Yeah. So to be clear, like combining theory or philosophy could be applied to any type of diet. I mean,
100%.
Got it.
That's why, like, I never understood when people would get up in arms. I'm like, it's not a diet. It's literally not a diet. You can eat whatever you want. It's just saying, like, hey, if you're going to have a steak, maybe have it with some vegetables and not a bowl of fruit. That's all it's saying. It's not a diet, though. It's just a roadmap for how to eat your food and how to pair your day. And it basically goes light to heavy. Like, if you read the book, it's like, start light and go heavy. Which makes sense, because then you have all night to digest, and in the morning you start over.
Yeah, got it. And like you said, experiment, see how you feel. It's like, we're not being prescriptive. It's a bio-individuality. I'm sure people can decide whatever they want. But what pissed people off so much about the horrendous atrocity of talking about food combining?
So what ended up happening is it gained a lot of popularity. Like I said, it went viral. And I mean, when I say it went viral, it's like, if you see, I'm not saying I started this, but I kind of did. But if you see on Instagram, like a fruit bowl with some cacao nibs and coconut shreds, like, it was from that era. I started this whole thing. It was called Fruit First. And it went crazy. I've never experienced the kind of viralness ever since then. But then what ended up happening is a registered dietitian who's really big on YouTube out of Canada made a video about me and saying that I was causing harm to young women because food combining wasn't scientifically proven. And that video went viral. And so I was put on the news and it was this whole thing. And so what pissed people, it's the same thing as now it's people who didn't do it, didn't try it, didn't know who I was. It's the same thing that happens right now. They get mad and they're like, oh, it's not scientifically proven. You're bad. You're bad. You need to go. You need to die. You need to, it was just simply that. At the time, I didn't understand it. Now, since COVID, and I've seen like anytime anyone questions anything, and again, science to me has a different meaning now. At the time, I was like, is it like, what is science? I was still learning what science was at the time. And I would say, the proof is in the pudding. There's thousands of women. I have still to this day a whole folder, thousands of testimonial photos. People lost weight. It helped their IBS. It changed their life. I still get messages to this day. Fruit first changed my life. I still do it. So it was just, it hit the wrong side of the internet. And it's funny, this woman has a whole career out of taking women and breaking down what they do in their diets. And that's her YouTube channel. And then like a year ago, she came out and said that, she was really suffering mentally and had to go on mental health medication stuff. I'm like, yeah, because your career is tearing people down. I mean.
Oh my gosh. It's so freaking true. I mean, there is a whole group, I don't know, an industry, let's just call it that, an industry of social media influencers that who they are. They're the ones with like they're looking at the video and they're just going to tear people apart. It is like African painted dogs. They just will maul you because it's an echo chamber in the comment section, right? It's ugly part of wellness. I'm sure it's in other spaces as well, but it's typically RDs. I like to compare, it's not all RDs. There's a lot of functionally minded, free thinking RDs, but then there's these RDs that are trained by the system. And if you leave the orthodoxy, they're going to eat you alive online.
Well, and isn't it so, at the time it was such a big deal for me, but now I still talk about food combining when I want to, because now I'm like, that whole thing, it's the system. It's the same crumbling we've seen happen politically, financially, in school systems. It's you were trained by a book or by something someone said, and we're not going by individuality. We're not going by someone's lifestyle, how they mentally are, anything like that. And all of that's crumbling. And so, I mean, I think I was one of the first, especially in my age group, that kind of tested that out. But now I don't care. It really affected me for years, though. It was hard.
Right, because you're, like you're saying, you're just talking about food, and to be able to be, it's really what it is. They're bullies. They're online bullies in a significant way. Like you said, it's what they're doing to other people's mental health by tearing people down, and the dopamine chasers in the comment section. I mean, they're feeding people with mental health problems that are easily triggered in the comment section. What are they doing to their mental health? And then, like you said, what's that erosive quality that they have to go to bed at night knowing that they make their career by hurting other people. Totally.
Yeah,
it's really
sad. It was a crazy time. It was really crazy, but it taught me a lot about bio-individuality.
Yeah, for sure. Something else you talked about that I never got to talk about in the podcast before. I don't know much about it at all, but I'd love to learn about German New Science. Like you mentioned studying it. What is German New Science?
Yeah, okay, so I'm still kind of getting into it, but it's called German New Medicine, and the theory is that we're never actually sick, right? So if I have a cold, it's my body releasing something. It's basically like when we're sick, we are on the brink of death, of birth, essentially. So no matter what the diagnosis is, it's showing where we're clearing something out. So if we're sick with mucus, it will show almost like an emotion that we're clearing out of our system. And it's a cool thing to start to study and get into because, like we said, a lot of illness or dis-ease is actually like dis-ease in mental. So whether German New Medicine is a science, which I believe it is, I think it can help you mentally. So it's like, instead of being, oh, I'm sick, which can make you more sick, it's like, oh, I'm actually detoxing this because this is being released from my body. It talks a lot about fevers, and you can feel that when you have a fever. You're like kind of on the brink of new life when you have a fever. And so it's a cool system because you can look up any symptom that you have, cancer, cold, whatever, and it can share with you what's being released in your body. And similar to human design or into astrology, it's like then you can support its exit and you can, support its exit.
Got it.
And work with it.
Got it. So I said it wrong. So New medicine.
German new medicine.
German new medicine. I need to look into it. I don't know. I've heard of it.
It's
before.
a lot about trusting the body.
Okay,
so I know a mom who's recently kind of changed her parenting and is starting to like let her kids eat what they want, and because she's kind of instilling that like they trust their body into them. So again, it's all these things. It's so interesting. All these things we've been talking about. It's about taking the power back as people.
Yeah, and tapping
that's
into
really
your intuition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what the origin of it is. I'd be interested on the history of it, but it sounds like that time, like if it became popularized, if you know about Mary Baker Eddy and like Christian Science, it's kind of that sort of thought, sort of the mental aspect of human health, which I think there's some truth to that. We know that when you talk about stress and how it can impact the body and trauma, past trauma, how it impacts the body. So I'd be curious to learn more about it. So
I kind of used German new medicine's philosophies to get my cycle back. Because like I said, everyone was like, oh, it's your diet. Oh, it's this. Oh, you don't eat enough meat. And though, I think you can support yourself with diet. And I, like I said, I did. I knew it was fight or flight. I knew it. And the second I felt my body come out of that was the second I got it back. It's just.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, even if someone doesn't adopt everything to all these things we're talking about, there's normally some aspects of it that everybody can resonate with, no matter what your other beliefs are.
Totally. It's just taking tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't be afraid of fruit. That's my favorite food combining takeaway. Don't be afraid of fruit.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get the TikTok commenters up in arms now. Okay, I'd love to hit some other health hot topics here. In the past couple months, more and more people are talking about it in our space. We've been talking about it for a long time. But fluoride in drinking water, what's your take on it as a whole?
We got to get it out. I mean, how I can go real deep, but like the things you see online about it saying like it blocks the pineal gland, and I don't know if you've seen that, but I think there is all these toxins in our things that are slowly poisoning the human being, and it's like a nice slow burn so we don't realize. You can't just like make everybody sick at once. And I personally think that it's a slow burn. I think there's so much money in people being sick. And if you even look at the political war, it's light versus dark. It's money and not money. And I don't even know who's causing it. People are like, oh, this is the first year I voted. Like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Do I think it's one person in the White House? Absolutely not. I don't know who it is. But what I do know is there is a rise in sickness. And I do think that there's sneaky ways that they are slowly poisoning us. Yeah. And so, it's like I can taste fluoride in water and something feels off. I don't want to put that in my body.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. Like, even if you take the kind of perspective that it wasn't to harm people, which, some people can make that argument, but if it's humans trying to be like God, right? It's humans thinking we're going to mass medicate people without asking them because we know better. And there's normally unintended consequences, or you could make the argument intended consequences. But certainly you could look at a lot of interventionist type ideas of humanity. And typically there's blowback, long-term consequences when we try to do that and go, try to circumvent nature in some way. It is an interesting concept that people are okay with it, because in the 1940s we didn't, have life was different in the 1940s, and they're not taking into account the bioindividuality and how much public water someone's consuming and how much they weigh and all these other variables. And it's not a natural form of fluoride. And I think that's another big point too. These are like byproducts of an industry. They're like industry chemicals versus naturally occurring mineral fluoride in black tea or, fish or something like that.
Totally. If it's natural, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. I saw there was a recent study in February of this year. It was in JAMA Pediatrics. It was a meta-analysis that looked at over 70 different studies, and they found that for every 1 milligram per liter of fluoride coming out in the urine of a child, it decreased their IQ by 1 point. And I mean, that's in JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association's pediatric journal, let alone like what actually is going on beyond that. And like, how is it hurting us? Is it through the thyroid and the thyroid's impact on brain development? Is it impacting mitochondria because it's a neurotoxin? I mean, it is unreal that there's no informed consent. We're just all being mass medicated with our public water. Well, at least 75% of public
For sure.
water.
And then look at school systems, and then kids they're not learning at the, what people say they should be learning. So then they put them on medication. Look at the rise in IVF. I mean, there's just so much to look at and to not, question. And it's simple things. Like, I get there's more complicated aspects, but to me, it's like, can we just get the fluoride out of the water? And why are people freaking out about that?
Yeah. Well, it's completely different, I think, if someone decides to go to the dentist and ask for a fluoride treatment or go to Target and buy the toothpaste with fluoride in it. They've made that decision for themselves.
They've consented.
They've consented. There's no informed consent with just drinking water and you're getting this medication.
Yeah.
It's wild. All right, another health hot topic is the SNAP program, the Food Assistance Food Stamp Program, and banning soda, and let's just even open it up to like artificial food dyes and other processed foods. What's your take on when people say that's elitist, it's racist to do that, and people on SNAP should get all the junk food they want?
I mean, oh my God, I'm like speechless at that. Because to me, I'm like, we're looking out for the good of all. Like, we are looking out for everyone here. To me, it just shows where we've failed the system for that to be elitist and that to be racist or whatever. It's like we are missing the mark somewhere. And this is going to sound rude. I don't mean it in that way, but it's like an IQ thing. Like, to me, if we can't see as a nation what is poisoning us and we are calling that racism, we're missing something here. Like we're consuming too much fluoride because it's we're looking out for people. I mean, that's where we've gone wrong. That's where our system's gone wrong. That's why I was vocal. That's why I voted this year, because of that.
Yeah. And again, this is made into this sort of political like thing. Like somehow we're far right for saying things that I guess are really not political at all. It's just Stanford had a study. It showed that taking soda out of the SNAP program would decrease obesity in 141,000 kids and decrease diabetes in adults by 250,000, I think the statistic is. So to me, it's like you said, it's the upside down. It's like if you actually love people and have compassion to people, why would you want to pay to feed chronic disease in them?
For sure. And then you question the Ozempic and all the other rises and things. So it's like, let's make you sick and then let's give you the solution.
Yeah. And we pay for both. We pay to put them on pharmaceuticals when we feed disease in them. It is really disgusting.
And I just feel bad for the kids, Like if you look at a kid who eats well, their performance and their behavior is so drastically different than a kid who has a bunch of red dye number 40 and soda and not good sleep. I mean, it's just, I think for me, no matter where you come from, like my hope and dream and wish is that we can just take care of the children here.
Yeah, it's so true. I saw some statistics that obesity is double in those that are on the SNAP program versus those that are eligible for SNAP but are not enrolled in SNAP. So we're not talking about income or economics. I mean, we're talking about both groups can be on SNAP One group's not enrolled in SNAP, the other one is enrolled in SNAP. Those on SNAP are double the risk of obesity. If that doesn't show you everything right there, we're setting them up for failure and paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, and then one other topic that I want to talk about is the artificial food dyes, and people say like, well, why is that the topic? Like, why are we harping on artificial food dyes? And I think there's a lot of nuance and context is lost on that, because I agree, like it shouldn't just be about artificial food dyes. But why is that in for so many people within the community that we're in?
Why are we so against it?
Yeah, why are we just, it seems like we're just singularly focused on artificial food dyes. Maybe it's just the media's coverage of it, but it's more than that. It is, I think that's been an in for a lot of us as far as food policy is concerned. Why did we start with food dyes?
Because I think it's the number one thing that we can point out that's man-made. I think it's like an easy, like, what comes from the earth that's blue like that, or orange like that, or red like that. I think it's an easy one to point out to people, because obviously there's so much. There's, corn syrup, and there's sugars, and there's all these other things, but I feel like it's because we can get people to see that aspect, and it says artificial right away. So it's like, let's start with the artificial thing. I mean, I just wish if we could make it so simple. If you don't know what it is, it's gone. If we don't know what it is on the food label, or it's got to go. Like, that would be so easy. It's not going to be that easy.
No,
but
it's not gonna, no, that definitely won't be that easy. Tell us about the clothing line. This beautiful pieces. Walk us through. What is it?
Yeah, so it's called Brûlée, and it's always been my dream to have a clothing line. And my dream goal / how I do it is just slowing down. So bringing timeless fashion back into our lives. And I drop each piece one at a time, and I make things to, I follow my food philosophy. Less is more. So my whole idea with it is like, all you need to do is buy this one set, and you can wear it so many different ways and have it forever. And I think we've lost that in so many areas of our life, not just in health, but how I live my life is I invested in furniture, and I still have it. It's timeless. It's not following trends. How I eat is how I got taken down for eating years ago. It's timeless. I'm not following a trend. And that's really what my clothing line is bringing back that timelessness, trying to get away from the urgency, like, oh, I'm going to sell everything out. I hand make everything here in LA with just one other man. I oversee it all, every single stitch. And yeah, I want to bring that back to the earth as much as possible, is simplicity. And whether that's what you eat or how you wear it, is so important to me.
Love it. As you know, the podcast is called The Art of Being Well. At the end of every episode, we have Your Art of Being Well. So let's jump in. What's the worst tasting healthy food that you eat? It's not for the taste. It kind of tastes gross, but you do it for the health benefits.
Oh gosh. That's hard because I actually really like.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, what would other people not like? Maybe what's maybe the weirdest tasting that your average not a wellness aficionado would?
Okay, here's my hot take. I will put straight up spirulina powder on top of my fruit, like straight up spirulina powder, and eat it by the spoonful. I love it, and people they flip when they see me do that. They're like, "That's disgusting! I can't believe you do that." That's
a good answer. That's a good answer. So, any specific type of spirulina, where do you have a spirulina dealer? What's that look like?
Yes, it's Nutrix. They're out of Hawaii. Best spirulina ever. I've tested every one. And you cut up some fruit. You do a little plain coconut cream, coconut yogurt, and some spirulina on top. It's an acquired taste, but you'll start to crave it when you get through the barrier.
I have to try that. Do you ever go to Starbucks? And if so, what's your Starbucks order?
A black coffee.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
You will
and
deviate.
only in a pinch.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna say. It's not you're not going there on the daily.
No, I live in California for the quality of food.
Yeah, yeah. So at an airport, maybe you're not above it.
Yeah. No, I'm not above it. Like, we're talking 6 a.m. flight. I can do a black Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, for sure. Same here.
Yeah.
I'm like a Trenta black tea, light ice, no water, no sweetener kind of guy. That's why I just want a big jug of black tea. That's not organic, but I'm not above it.
Yeah. No, not above it. Once in a while. Totally fine.
and
You'll
that's
not catch me having a milk from there.
No. No almond milk, no regular milk. No. That's how I get my fluoride is my Starbucks black tea.
Yeah, the ice.
Yeah, right. All right. Next question is, what is the weirdest, maybe controversial, out of the box wellness thing that you've done that you're willing to admit on a podcast?
I get colonics all the time.
Okay.
And I love them.
Okay.
Like, I jones for them.
My God. You're pretty deep wellness. You're a
yeah.
walking
And
cliche.
I also do at-home enemas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are, like, some would say goopy. Like, I always got the pejorative, like, how goopy are you, like, being involved in the goop
I'm
universe?
very goopy. Like,
Yeah.
I
There's no
can't.
shame.
I don't really talk too much about how goopy I am, because people, that Canadian registered dietitian would really have something to say if she really knew what I did.
Oh, we'll pray for her. She's
Yeah.
maybe needs some love more than the average bear. But okay, that's great. So you mentioned jonesing for colonics. Like, where are you going for this? What's the setup?
I have a lady.
A lady.
So I'll go get them professionally done. Yeah. For anyone listening who wants to get into it, I don't like the open chamber. So I like the closed chamber. And I think it's really important to find someone that you like, you trust, and that does a good job. Because they are putting, fluids into you and you are releasing them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have someone here that I really love. I also do them at home. I do enemas at home. And something my colonic woman taught me that I went initially because I was doing a cleanse, and it was a parasite cleanse. So they were like, you should go and, make sure you release everything. But this woman that was giving me the colonic, who I still see, her name is Monica. She was saying, it's not just poop that's released. It's energy. It's like other people's energy. It's processed emotions. And that's what I say. I jones for them. Like, if I have an intense week or an intense month, or I can like feel a buildup in my system, it is such an energetic release. It's like, and sometimes you can see it. You're just like releasing things that are old and left inside of you that just want to come out. So
yeah. Hey, this is great conversation. What's a book that you've read? It could be fiction, nonfiction, that I should add to the Art of Being Well book club list.
Fit for Life by Harvey Diamond.
Everyone's gonna have to read that now. I mean, I love that you still go back to it too. It's one of those books that it's important part of your life.
Yeah, it will always be.
Yeah. Kenzie, this has been a blessing of a conversation. Thanks for coming on. Where do people go to learn more about the clothing line, follow you on social? Where do they go?
At Kenzie Burke. Everything will be there.
Kenzie, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.